Check the mic and make sure it sound right, boys.
Honestly, well, I feel like that's the way I learned. I was, when did I start? I started around like 5 or 6 when I first started playing guitar. So it was something where, you know, I didn't want to learn full songs. I just wanted to learn like little note, like parts and melodies that I like heard, like, you know, like whether it was like Smoke on the Water or like, you know, some Beatles song that I was a fan of. Like this was before I like really like knew anything about music, so it's just the motifs were in my head, and so I would just like sit myself down with a book that was either had tablature or like sheet music, and then just go ahead and read it. And I was doing this from like until I was like 9 or 10, and that's when my parents were like, oh, we should actually probably give him music lessons or something like that. So if then I started studying with teachers, and like that's when I was like, oh, I want to learn full songs, and so I was doing that for a little bit, which was
all on bass guitar or electric or
it was electric first. I had this like God, what was the name of that guitar? It was an Aria, funny enough, and so it was and that was possibly the shittiest guitar I've owned. I mean, don't get me wrong, it was perfect for my like, you know, 6-year-old ass, but it was like it was something where I want to say the so instead of a pickup like normal guitars have, it had a speaker instead of a pickup, so it was pretty much just a guitar and amp in one, and just created the most shitty tones you can possibly imagine.
The guitar itself would put out the music?
Yeah, but it was like the most distorted like kind of like guitar tone that you can possibly think of. I mean, it would be great if I was, you know, just wanting to have that tone all the time, but, you know, I wanted to experience other kind of sounds, you know.
100%.
Yeah.
That is ironic, the name of it.
Yeah, it truly is, honestly. I always point that out. I'm just kind of like, you know, I own this guitar. I'm pretty sure, like, I probably was attracted to it because it had my name on it or some shit like that, but, like, no, it was truth be told, do not let 6-year-olds buy their own guitars. That's just an important lesson in life.
Lesson number 1, right off the bat. All right, guys, we got Ari here.
Hello.
Bassist of the Chonks.
Guitarist, bassist, of that band. I also do a couple other projects. Just restarted my cassette and record label, Higher Vibration.
What is it called?
Higher Vibration.
Higher Vibrations?
Yeah, so currently we're working towards putting out physical media of music, and this will later become something where we're not just putting out music, but we're also putting out videos and, like, you know, other kind of physical media that we enjoy, like, you know, like magazines or like VHS and stuff like that.
That's awesome. And physical media, that's what it means, magazines and pictures and video, for someone who's not in the music industry, as myself.
Yeah, generally, so like with physical, so there's digital and physical media. So digital, you know, is pretty much just everything is done through a computer. Like you have a website, you have a you know, streaming services, you know, yada, all that yada yada. And then physical is when you have something like, you know, like some, you know, the cassettes or vinyl where you can have it, but it's not. You don't have to have another physical thing to listen to it, if that makes. Or actually, no, that's a lie. That you would need a turntable to listen to a vinyl. You would need a cassette player to listen to a cassette. But ideally, it's something where you don't have to go look at a screen to listen to music.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, or whatever else you're doing, except, you know, when we start releasing stuff on VHS, that's you're obviously going to need a VHS player for that, or VHS converter, but you know, we'll work it out.
You're gonna do VHS?
Hopefully sometime soon. Yeah, we were. There's talks of it. We're just not entirely sure of what we want to do with VHS yet, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you trying to bring that back, or is there kind of like that underground little niche of VHS clients or people who like that's still kind of like a record player?
Yeah, we know of a good amount of people that still like buy and collect VHS tapes pretty like religiously, I'd say. So it's like we're not. It's something where we want to appeal to those people, but we also want to appeal to, you know, mass media as well. You know, maybe something where it's like, oh, we can, you know, have it be a collab where we're collaborating with a old cassette or not cassette VHS company where they're making how do I describe it? Like, they're making the VHS players, and then we release the VHS and we sell it as a bundle or whatever. Like we there are so many ideas that we're just bouncing around that we're just trying to work out, but that's one of them. And then another one is possibly just like having like a show where we just have like all like VHS tapes being played like in the background, and that's going to be like the release show for that VHS video or something like that.
That'd be sick.
Yeah.
So like a live performance with the VHS in the back.
Yeah, something like that. Where it's like, we'll have bands playing, but we'll have the video being played like on like 100 different TVs or something like that.
That'd be just that right there. 100 TVs, just saying that and the same thing. I'm just picturing like a U-shaped wall.
Oh yeah.
Just like a dome of this movie and then a live band.
Yeah. Well, we were like, where did I first see a TV wall? That's the name for it, I
TV
guess.
wall.
Yeah. I'm trying to. Desert Days. This music festival. My friend actually did visuals at it and helped set up this whole like TV wall. And I just remember like I was just walking around and I saw it over by like a stage, and I just like stared at it for like an hour. I want to say I missed a band because of that, but at the same time,
what was it showing? Just like graphics, or was it showing the band?
It was literally just everything that you could possibly like. I remember there was like a horse race on one. There was like a soap opera on another one. There was a Akira on another.
So it's just
randomness, but it was also just the most like glitched out you can possibly imagine. Like the horse race was like on acid, or like you're watching Akira, but it's like all distorted or whatever. And it's wonderful.
And that was at a festival?
Yeah, that was at a music festival.
Makes
and that's
sense.
Partially where I got the idea. Well, I mean, that's partially where Higher Vibration got the idea. And it was that also, well, I guess like that festival in general was probably just a festival I used to attend to and like, see like, look up to the festival promoters and all that in like such a high regard, because I'm just like, you guys are doing shit that no one else in LA is doing, and I really appreciate that.
Yeah, all the artists out here, that's got to stand out.
Yeah.
I think of everyone who's kind of doing a similar thing as somebody else, and then so if you see someone who's doing something you haven't seen, that's got to stick out right away.
Yeah, and that's the main thing for me. It's like I'm always just on the search for people who are thinking outside the box, whether inspired by other people or whether they're just like, fuck everyone else, I want to just do things the way I want to do it. Like that's purely just what I'm looking for when it comes to people and their art. Yeah.
So let's get into this right away, man. I obviously knew you were a musician. We haven't spoken that much. I just met you a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
Which it's been great to meet you, by the way.
Yeah, it's been
Thanks
great.
for coming.
Lovely
on the show,
to meet
man.
you as well. Yeah,
Thank you,
lovely
man.
to be here.
But so I didn't know you were starting a record label. Is that? It sounded like it was happening in the past and kind of stopped, and now you're revamping that up again?
Yeah, so pretty much before COVID, I hate to bring it back to those times, but it was something where I started up this label, but it wasn't meant to be a label yet. It was just purely started as a booking collective. So it was a name that me and my friends could book shows under. Okay. We booked a couple of great shows. And sorry to cut you off. Is that like you're saying as a band, you're kind of using that to look like you're signed to a label? Not exactly. So I wasn't even booking my band for this. It was just something where I was, okay. So as a member of the Chonks, I was always booking shows for us as well. That just sort of became a habit for me to do. I wasn't really like doing it under a name or anything. I was just throwing my band on the bill and then asking other bands that I wanted to play with to play. And eventually, like, people, took notice of this, and they were like, hey, you're pretty good. You should just start booking shows on your own if your band can't play. And like me being like 18, 17 or something like that, I was just more or less like, what? That's stupid. Like, why would I do this? That's like, I'm just doing this for my band. Like, why would I do this for anyone else? But around the age of 19, I started going to CalArts, and I think that's when I started meeting like more people, and was surrounded by more musicians, and of whom I was like, wow, these people are super dope. I'd love to help them out, but at the same time, I want to say Liam, the also bassist and guitarist of the Chonks, he was attending USC. His schedule was pretty rigorous and busy, so he just gave me the like heads up of like, hey, you know, this is going on for me. I can only really do like one show a month. Like, is that fine? And I was like, yeah, no, that's, you know, that's fine with me. I'm also busy with school and shit. And then, but then I found myself getting bored because I was like, you know, I got used to just booking these shows all the time. And so then I started booking shows without my band on the bill. And that's sort of what led into just me booking for other people and whatnot. And I was already like doing that kind of for like touring bands outside of LA. Like if my band, like if they hit up my band to like play a show and I'm like, yo, my band can't play, but like, you know, DM me personally and I can set something up for you. And, you know, I would set up the show, may or may not have gone, and, you know, would just make sure I would just make sure the touring band like got paid well or something like that. But then this sort of became like my new thing, I guess, was I was booking shows. And then from there, it became something where everyone was like, you know, you should have a name to make yourself seem more official. At first I was like, fuck that, why would I do that? But then I just slowly met people that, you know, were on the same page as me, that were like had the same goal and mindset. And so I was just kind of like, you know, I should just give this a try, see what happens. And sure enough, I really enjoyed it, and then was quickly put to a halt, which
because of COVID.
Yeah, because of COVID. So we started it up in like, I want to say our first show was November of 2019, and then like we threw like a handful of shows or so, and then like had to cancel all of our shows like after March of 2020. So now we're just sort of trying to pick up the paces again.
And so this may sound like a really stupid question because I have no experience in the music industry, but when you're saying you're booking, are you saying you're acting as like an agent you're booking, or are you booking yourself as in like you're playing with other bands, so you're just personally booking yourself? Like, you know what I mean? Are you like booking other bands for a show and kind of working as a rep for them, or are you actually playing with these bands? I
guess it's a little bit of both. This is like where the DIY mentality comes in of LA, where it's like, you know, I was acting as an agent, but also telling them, like, you know, these people would obviously know that I'm playing as well, because they would see me on stage with the band or whatever. There's been a few times where like I would play with the band. I'm not gonna call out anyone's band or anything, but it would be like, you know, I would play with this band or performer, and they wouldn't even realize that I was playing with this band. They just thought I was the booker, because they would always, you know, whenever they weren't performing, they would just go outside and, you know, just hang out, and, you know, and then they would go inside for their set or whatever else. And so then I sort of took advantage of that and just kind of like started fucking around with these people, just making them think like, oh yeah, you know, I'm just the booker, not anything else. And it sort of led into this whole like mysterious thing where, like, you know, when people finally saw me like performing, they'll be like, oh wait, I didn't realize you actually did this. And I'll be like, yeah, I do. Or, you know, just sort of be petty about it or whatever. I'm
fucking great.
But it was just more or less like, I just didn't want to take it personally or anything. So I was just kind of just felt like, I just felt like I just wanted to get myself into the mindset of just, you know, being one or the other, I guess, without being both. And people were just often confused about it. You intentionally caused the mystery and confusion. Yeah, no, and people were, you know, like people would come up to me just either thinking I'm purely a band guy or purely a booker guy, and I'm just more or less like, why not both?
Yeah, exactly. That's a thing out here too, man. It seems like give yourself all the opportunity to succeed. Especially if you're in an industry that's hard, you know. I don't know. Yeah. It could be better for you to specialize, I guess, just a player, but also it makes sense to me to like, well, I can do a couple different things in this industry to keeping myself busy until one of those kind of pops off, maybe one way or the other. Yeah. Is that kind of what you're thinking?
Yeah, more or less. I mean, if anything, you know, I will be happy with any opportunity that sounds cool to me. But that being said, it has to sound cool to me, I guess, and that's where the line is drawn for me, because, you know, there are people that will just approach me and be like, hey, you will really like this opportunity. And I'm just like, oh yeah, I'm sure I will, without realizing that, like, oh wait, my opinion's already set if you just come up to me with the details saying that I would already have an opinion. I was just more or less like, no, you just tell me how it is, and I'll tell you what I think of it. You don't tell me how I think of it.
Yeah. They're just trying to force what they want on you.
Yeah, they're trying to force my own opinion. And I'm like, oh, great. Like, my opinion's already chosen for me. That's
I'll tell you if I like the show or not. But so are you doing this label? It sounds like you're not doing it by yourself.
Oh, no. So I'm doing it with a couple of good friends of mine, Gabe, Yali, Jason, and Mark. They all also do pretty much the same thing that I'm doing. You know, they play in their own separate projects. They also do work. And then they do higher vibration stuff purely just for fun. And you know, I don't want to say it's like a side project or anything, because I take it personally, and I also like, you know, put a good amount of time, money, effort into this project, and it's, you know, I feel like it's gonna be rewarding one day. It's ultimately, you know, I don't care if it's successful or not, or, you know, in my opinion, in my head, it's just already successful as is.
Yeah.
Because people know the name, people know what we do, and that's all that really matters to me, is that, you know, it doesn't have to be a big name thing or anything. I don't care if like everyone in LA knows about us. I just would rather know that the people who do know about us really like us.
Yeah, you want your reputation to be good, and you know, go from there, I guess.
Yeah, because I don't know. It's been hard, because I've been finding a lot of, like, you know, I've seen a lot of my friends and, you know, acquaintances or whatever just like start, like, literally, like, I hate to sound corny and whatnot, but, you know, start from the bottom and then go to the top, as they call it. And then, you know, a lot of my friends will see themselves going to the top, and then somehow or some way just purposely sabotage themselves.
Really?
Yeah, I mean,
subconsciously?
I don't want to say self-consciously. I mean, there's, like, you know, a lot of different ways that one could do this in LA, because, you know, everyone's getting canceled nowadays. But
yeah, I've just seen James Franco today.
Like, outside, or?
No, she's right there, bro.
Oh, yo, what's up, James?
Just throwing that in there. No, I saw something about, maybe this is old news. It was new to me. I don't know. Seth Rogen distancing himself from James Franco for James Franco having sexual assault accusations.
Yeah, I mean,
that's new to me. I was like, oh wow.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me at all. I mean,
not really.
Yeah, I never really, like, I don't want to be like, oh, I've heard stories, or you know, but it's like, generally when I hear people talk about James Franco, like, it's generally like, oh yeah, James Franco, like, like, it's something where I realize, like, okay, something is there. I don't know what it is, but it's, you know, clearly he's rubbing people wrong, and
literally,
quite literally, might be rubbing people wrong, as far as I know.
Might have been a spot-on choice of words. That was funny.
Yeah, but no, that's it's funny that you mentioned that. I was watching a movie that he was in last night, and it's kind of, I kind of noticed this, like, you know, after, you know, not watching a movie or a show that he's been in or something like that, but he sort of plays the same character. It's like the mysterious, like, bisexual, kind of like a little too touchy, a little, you know, it's like you're kind of just like, oh wow, like, when are you gonna do something else?
Yeah, you definitely get those guys out here. I think I've seen him in other things, but they're just never successful, maybe, or just not widely marketed. Because I have nothing specific in my head right now, but I remember seeing something of seeing him in it that was a completely different type of character, and I was like, wow, I've never seen this before, never heard of this movie, nothing. Didn't know he was in it. I like him, but I'm not like his biggest fan, so I probably just don't know all the things he's doing.
Was that Spring Breakers, I think, right?
I think it was like a serious movie. So he was like, it was one of those movies where I didn't know he was in it, and then all of a sudden he was in it, and it was totally not his typical, exactly what he described, like MO role. So it's like, wow, shit. I don't know.
I want to say, like, that was probably the only film I enjoyed in him was Spring Breakers.
Spring Breakers?
Yeah, he pretty much embodied Riff Raff for a movie role, which I thought was fucking hilarious. I was like, you know, he was this, you know, white guy with dreads trying to act black, and I was just kind of like, holy shit, like, this is a whole new thing. But at the same,
I've seen it.
Yeah, that movie in particular is well, I'm also just a huge fan of the director Harmony Korine, but
Okay.
Harmony did a lot of like weird, like I don't want to call it surreal, but just more or less like like a like a take that most movie people wouldn't take because it wouldn't sell, if that makes sense.
He's willing to take the risk.
Yeah, like he wrote this film Kids when he was 19, which is pretty much about, well, in the most basic sense, he was just writing about what kids do in New York, but it wasn't just any kind of kid. It was like, you know, the street skater kids who were going out and do bad shit, or as people, or like, you know, how people look down upon it as bad shit. But you know, it's a very real movie. You know, it's a movie where it touches light upon not only like what these kids are doing, but also like, you know, how it's affecting them. And like, you know, there's this one character, Tilly, who's named the Virgin Surgeon, and he's only going after you know, virgins. And it shows how his predatory, you know, he's only 17 in it, but it shows how his predatory like behavior is like becoming an onset. And then he has another friend, Casper, who's more or less like looking up to Tilly in that sort of way. You know, Casper is like not really the like the one who gets it of the friends, I guess, and that's you know, it seems like he has like kind of a jealousy thing going on with Tilly. But anyway, it's one of those things where I like watched this movie and I knew that it's like, okay, this isn't going to be a happy ending. Like I'm not going to spoil the movie or anything like that, but it's not a happy ending, and for that I enjoyed it. You know, it's like you don't really get that in movies nowadays. It's like you don't really just get a movie where there's just a bleak message of just like, yeah, the world's fucked.
That's what I was gonna say. Is almost obviously happy endings are, you know, they're happy, but I do like. I almost don't like that it's always a happy ending. It's always, because then you just know, like, okay, whatever fucked up scenario they're going through, they'll figure it out. Yeah, this is why that person's not going to die. They're the main character. Like, you know that ahead of time anyways, or at least that's what I tell myself. So maybe that kind of ruins the movie. But so something like that where it actually, I haven't seen the movie, but ends maybe realistically in a not a happy situation, I would enjoy that as well. Yeah.
Well, I was also just like on that subject because I've been taking this ethics class at CalArts, and that's I had to write this whole like final and midterm on this movie Do the Right Thing by Spike Lee, where that's also a movie with the same sort of message. It's just you know, like, hey, look, this isn't a happy ending. This is a movie where the message is going to be there. The message is going to be apparent. The message of that movie being is that, you know, racial tensions do not solve anything unless we see the flaws in ourselves as well, which I thought was really powerful, because it's not just directing that towards white people; it's directing that towards everyone. And another little thing to mention about just Harmony Korine in general is that, like, you know, the same thing with Kids is that, you know, there was another movie that he made, Gummo, with the same sort of concept of just like, hey, this isn't your life, but this is somebody's life. Yeah. And it's incredible. Like I really respect it.
Yeah, Kids, is it similar to, because Jonah Hill just produced one or made what, like the 90s, like mid-90s or something? Yeah. It sounds similar to that, maybe even darker. I haven't seen that either, but I've heard about that. It's the same kind of thing. Kids who have divorced parents in like San Francisco, I think, and just kind of follows their life. It's a lot of skate culture kids.
Yeah. So Kids is more. I always refer to Kids as mid '90s as the West Coast kids, which is a little ironic because Jonah Hill. I'm noting you ripped off Kids, but it's something where Jonah Hill did take a lifestyle that was really different. Like the skate cultures of the East Coast and West Coast were different. You know, there were similarities. I'm not gonna disagree on that, but there were a lot of differences in the location, and location is really key. Oh, yeah. And Jonah Hill did take upon something where he was directing. I don't want to say that he wasn't well versed in the whole like mid '90s skate scene of West LA, but it's
Is it in LA or San Francisco?
Oh, it's LA.
Is it LA? Okay.
Yeah. So it's generally that whole movie is based on actually like where I grew up in like Santa Monica, Venice area, and so it was cool for me to watch a movie where like I not only got to see my friends like be in this like big screen movie that Jonah Hill made, but it was just cool to see something where like oh, this is a culture that not a lot of people talk about, and Jonah Hill did bring it to good light. So that's what I like about it. What I don't like about it is that it's like I guess it's just not original. Like as I mentioned, like he ripped off kids, and I'm sure there'll be people calling me out for saying that, but at the same time, I'm like, I will stand by it. No, Jonah Hill ripped off kids.
I'll have to watch both of them.
Yeah, watch both of them back to back, and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
it's
kids
kinda,
first.
Yeah, kids first, and then mid '90s. Mid '90s is just more polished.
Mid '90s, that's a show though, right? It's not a movie.
No, it's a movie.
It is a movie.
Yeah, it's a movie. Yeah, and so like you obviously have like big money behind that production as well because you have Jonah Hill, who's like a big name actor.
Yep.
I've also just heard a lot of like funny stories around Jonah Hill. Like there was the singer of the Chonks, Duncan. He was out surfing one time in Malibu, and Jonah, and I guess like he saw Jonah Hill past the break, paddled out to him and was like, hey, I'm a big fan of mid '90s. Like it was cool seeing a lot, the same shit I just saw. Like it's cool seeing a lot of my friends like on the big screen. Like I never would have thought they were given that opportunity. And Jonah Hill just responds with, yeah, I used to skate in the '90s a lot in the west side of LA. Like almost a scripted response to that question. Like I don't know. Like I'm sure there's like other interviews where he just says the same exact thing, but I was just more or less like, this is a fan approaching you. You can be a little more personal, And then from what so then he tries to go for a wave, cuts off this guy. This guy like crashes into him, starts yelling at Jonah Hill, this big name star, and Jonah Hill paddles back out past the break to where Duncan is, and Duncan just goes, hey, fuck that guy, he's just being an asshole. And then Jonah Hill is just like, yeah, fuck that dude, like he totally just went in my way, like, I could, that wave was mine for sure, yeah. And I was just more like after hearing this story, I was like, oh no, Jonah.
Jonah Hill, we need you to come on and tell your side of the story.
Please do, because I would like some explanation behind that. It seemed like you were being rude, Jonah Hill.
Don't be rude, Jonah.
Don't be rude.
Don't rip off kids, Jonah.
Stop snorting the cocaine, Jonah.
Jonah, come explain yourself.
Do you want to get uncanceled, Jonah? This is how you do it.
Yeah. No, if he comes on here, man, that would be...
You get an email next week being like, hey, I'd like to uncancel myself. My name's Jonah Hill.
No, you cannot. You need to come on the show and talk. If I ever, that'd be it, dude. That'd be huge for this show.
Seems like you're making that way. I mean, I saw that podcast that you did last week with the guy who was like doing all that mushroom stuff. Right?
Parker?
Yeah.
Yeah, super cool stuff. I just met him through LinkedIn, which was awesome that was a thing and even happened. And super interesting. Like, I don't know anything about mushrooms really, or the functional mushrooms, like that whole industry. And it does seem like that's something that's probably going to take off in our lifetime. I'll hear little things about it here and there. Like, as kind of we were saying with him, marijuana is getting legalized. I would assume in our lifetime we'll see it federally, maybe not, but whatever it is, state by state. And then that's kind of coming right behind it. And there's legitimate health benefits. Not even psychedelic mushrooms, like functional mushrooms literally have health benefits. And that's like what he's doing. And
well, it's I don't know. It's funny that I was at a I don't know what to call it. Like, I guess it's like an outdoor show.
Yeah.
But it was thrown by this crew, Dead City Punks, and they were like, I guess they've just been known like since like this whole quarantine or COVID phase, where like they've just been throwing all these like outdoor shows, like in the time where you're not supposed to be playing shows, but like now like more and more people are going because more and more people are getting vaccinated, so it seems like it's safer to actually attend these shows. But I went to go check out this this show that was under a bridge, kind of by that junction where I want to say it's the 2 meets the 5, where like the Home Depot is.
I don't. I'm still not super great with the 5 goes north and south, right?
Yeah.
At an angle. I don't know the 2.
Yeah, it was technically, I guess the physical location was at Egret Park, but no one really calls it that. Everyone just calls it I guess like most people just call it the spot by the LA River. But
yeah,
I showed up to this thing, and then there's like 5,000 people there, and it's like when I walk into the entrance, there's like there's these people advertising psilocybin chocolate.
Really?
So that gave me, and it was like, official branding type of shit. It wasn't like, this, like, it wasn't like some sketchy dude sitting in some corner, like being like, hey, you want some mushrooms? It was like, it was like, they had a banner. It was like psilocybin chocolate, and it was like a branding and everything. And I was like, wow, this is going to be the next big wave of, the drug culture is like,
for real.
It's going to move from the marijuana becoming legal into psychedelics and the other kind of mushrooms as well. And I don't know, I'm with it. I really appreciate it.
I am too, because it's already legal. Was it Denver? I don't know if you know that. I think in Denver they legalized.
Denver? I thought it was Oregon.
Might be both those places. I would not be surprised, but I'm pretty sure I remember hearing Denver legalized psychedelic mushrooms just in that city, not even in Colorado as a state, just the city of Denver.
Just Denver itself.
I think, yeah.
I thought Oregon as a state legalized or decriminalized psychedelics and a bunch of other like Class A sort of.
Should we look it up?
Yeah, might as well.
I always forget I can do that.
Yeah, we're on the subject of it. We might as well just confirm it real quick.
Yeah. I'll watch back and I'll be like, dude, why don't you just look it up? So then you know. Like, Oregon legalizes, how the fuck do you say that?
Psilocybin.
Yeah, mushrooms, and decriminalizes all drugs.
Yeah. So I feel like California will probably be the next.
It's sent that through, like that's actually passed.
Yeah.
Expected. Approved a pair of ambitious drug policy reform ballot measures. One to legalize psilocybin mushrooms for use in therapy, and a second separate ballot measure that decriminalizes possession of small amounts of all drugs.
Yeah.
Wow, that's huge.
Yeah, honestly, and it's I was I guess like the decriminalizing thing for me is really personal, because like I've seen just a lot of my friends like go on the path of hard drugs, and I truly think that like rehab is better than jail, or like my friends, I have had friends arrested, gone to jail for hard drugs, and like they would get out of jail and just immediately go straight back to drugs. I would also have friends who would do the same with rehab, but at the same time I feel like each time when they would go into rehab they would walk out like sometimes they would just go back into it, but they would have the sense of clarity of like, oh yeah, like I shouldn't do this, otherwise this will happen. And then something, the ones that would just go back into it, something would normally lead to that, which was unfortunate. But I, like first talking to them when they first get out, they're normally like, yeah, I shouldn't do this anymore. I know that. Yeah,
at least they have the idea. At least it's geared towards helping them. That's like the background where I come from had a big opioid problem when I was in high school there. A lot of my, I wouldn't say a ton of, but I knew of, and a couple of my friends definitely had problems. Kids around me, friends of mine, OD'd. Most of them made it out. Most of them survived, thankfully. Some did not. I had a cousin who passed away actually really young, younger than I am now, which is crazy. It's always crazy to think about.
Sorry to hear about that.
It's all right. I appreciate it.
Yeah. I was, I've had a couple of friends. I guess like the big one in my area was like Xanax, and then that led to like fentanyl.
Fentanyl. Ours was heroin, and then anything similar to heroin.
Fentanyl would lead other kids to like do heroin if they couldn't get a hold of like they would think in their head like, oh yeah, this is the next stronger thing to do.
Exactly.
Which would normally lead, like, but even then they knew that they were more addicted to I guess the what's the name of it? Blues. It was like this smokable fentanyl that I actually witnessed someone smoke it. It was it was alarming, because it was something where like literally seeing someone receive satisfaction from smoking out of tinfoil.
Yeah.
Like
Just
for
kinda-
like for the shortest span of time, you know, like immediately afterwards, they're like, I want more.
Yeah.
But it's, you know, I looked at this and I was like, this is so unhealthy, but also just like so sad because, you know, I never wanted to see any of my friends just smoke out of tinfoil.
Of course.
Like, it was a very sad moment.
I can imagine. Yeah. So that's a downer.
Yeah, but I don't know. I feel like a lot of them either notice it or like, you know, they are taking it upon themselves to make themselves better. Like I've had a couple of friends get themselves out of that whole phase of their life, which is I'm very thankful for because I would distance myself from them because of that. You know, it's like I didn't want to be around it. I didn't, you know, and then like, you know, that would also lead to them doing other bad things, you know, and like. It's not like, you know, it's not like I'm a fan. It's not like I'm not a fan of doing bad things. I'm just, you know, not really a fan of doing them if it means I have to smoke fentanyl right before or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, so
you still want to be around it. You're smart enough to distance yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
It makes complete sense. I mean, I would say I was in similar situations. Where there was, even as a kid, I guess I'm glad I did have a line where I wasn't going to cross. I would cross many lines, but there was lines where I was like, yeah, that's not it. Because there was a lot of kids around me who, and a big thing too, I think that would come with legalization is education about it, because I think that was a huge thing with kids in my area where I come from is I don't think they realized how addictive and serious heroin was until there was a problem, until they OD'd.
Yeah.
And obviously you can die from that. Like, again, most of them luckily didn't, at least the first time. But then you're just like in the situation where you didn't know what you were doing was so fucking you up.
Yeah.
And
I personally just blame Nancy Reagan for all of this. It's like, you know, if the whole war on drugs thing didn't even start, we wouldn't have the issue where, like, you know, everyone's just telling each other like drugs are bad no matter what, because, you know, in general, like, yeah, there are, you know, drugs like marijuana and psychedelics that can really benefit you and your mental health in the long run. And, you know, hey, sometimes if you can find a way to use it, like, I'm not condoning anyone to use marijuana, psychedelics, or anything. You know, anything or anything like that. But generally, if you know that you're using it and you know that the way that you're using it is for your mental health and, you know, nothing else, like, go ahead. You know,
or even for fun, but it's just not a problem.
Yeah.
Like if you know you can handle what you're doing.
Yeah.
And you're not letting it get out of control. You know how to handle it. Like drinking, dude. It's the same thing.
Drinking. And I personally know, like, socially functionable meth heads. Like, these are people who, like, you know, smoke meth, but they do it for, like, purely for, you know, they know. Really? They know that it's deteriorating their body. They know that it's fucked. But they know that for whatever reason, it gives them a feeling that no other drug can.
Really?
And that they utilize that feeling and they just go for it. And it's shocking, but also inspiring in a way. You know, it's like they know that, you know, this is the amount that they need to function, and that they only use that amount every single day, or, like, you know, however much they use. I guess.
Are they using it for, like, benefiting work? Like, they have jobs and it's helping them, or is it an addiction now where they just need it to feel okay?
It's probably a little bit of both. I feel like a lot of these people I've talked to were like, you know, it's like if they never done meth, obviously that's a whole nother story. But, you know, for one reason or another, they did meth, whether they chose to do it or whether it was given to them by a friend or whether they were laced by it or whatever. And it's something where, you know, because of that, they're not mad at themselves for using it. They're like more like it's very strange to explain. They're like thankful in a way. Like, they're like, yeah, I know I fucked up, but in a way I'm thankful because it's made me realize that, oh yeah, you know, it's what I need to like, you know, live my life to the fullest.
Really?
Yeah. And I don't know, it's alarming because I know that, you know, they can die from the drug. They can also, you know, just at any point in time just have, you know, a complete 180.
Yeah.
But it's, I don't know, it's strange. Like, they're fully capable
Yeah.
of doing what they need to do, and they know their limits. And it's the most strange thing. It's the most strange thing to me.
It's strange because that's so, like, that's for sure a hard line for me. I'm not doing that. I'm not condoning that.
Yeah.
That's not something I would say.
I don't condone this to anyone. If anything, do not smoke meth. Do not find out if it's right for you. Or like these people
don't
did.
figure it out.
Don't figure it out.
Because I would say most people, it's probably not.
Yeah, exactly.
But at the same time, I don't know what I was going to say before, but like, kind of going back to legalization, I think it should be up to the person.
Yeah.
I think they should be able to decide. Now, obviously, there's blurry lines with legalizing things and then kids getting a hold of it who don't know and can't decide for themselves, or shouldn't maybe be old enough to decide for themselves yet. But I don't know. I feel like, people probably shouldn't be going to prison and all that whole shit, the incarceration side of all that, for those types of things where it's kind of just your own choice, and they should just go to rehab and try to get into a program that actually helps them maybe decide if they want to keep doing this or not, or if they can handle it, or clearly it's a problem and they're trying to get off of it, but they can't.
Yeah.
And putting them in jail, it's probably not.
Well, I
do that.
Yeah, I think one more thing to just add on to this whole like conversation is
rant.
It's probably just, once the majority of people just stop seeing like drug use as a criminal thing and more like a mental thing, whether it is addiction or like you need it to for whatever reason, because there are people who are addicted to stuff, and there are people who legitimately need whatever they're taking for whatever reason. And it's like I feel like back when I was in high school, I was given a lot of shit for smoking weed or like just whatever other things I did, and it would be coming from people who were like I all amped up on like pharmaceuticals, like Adderall. Like Adderall and all that shit. And I'm just sort of like I'm sure that if I was to take Adderall one day and come to school all like perfect and shit like you are, like that would make you really happy. But I'm really happy doing what I'm doing. Yeah. And that's people just need to see that.
So that's why weed, marijuana, whatever you want to call it, whatever your slang is for it, but just weed in general is like, it just seems so harmless compared to even say psychedelics or mushrooms. Like, so to have that legalized, and then kids are taking Adderall, like, it's just so ridiculous.
Another thing to point out is that Adderall is literally like it has the same ingredients of meth.
That's what I was gonna say. If your friends just tried Adderall, they can just go to the doctor and get it.
And Adderall is like the most easy. Like, I hate to say it, but Adderall is easier to get a hold of than weed. Like, it truly is. Like, I know too many people with Adderall prescriptions who have offered to sell to me.
Oh, yeah.
Or just, like, whatever else. Or
especially when you're at school.
Yeah, especially when you're at school. And final times are coming around, like, these kids with the prescriptions are like, all right, it's bank day.
Exactly.
It's funny. I mean, it's funny that I say it like that, but it truly is.
But it is.
Yeah.
It really is.
It's... I don't, I truly think that if you need Adderall, like, you should take it. But, like... it's personally something that I don't see myself using, because I know what I need, and I just need something to calm me down. I don't need something. I don't need something to amp me up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, you know that for yourself.
Yeah.
See, that's the thing of like, you should be able to decide for yourself.
Exactly.
It's not for you. You don't want it. Cool. You're smart enough, not to touch it, or like whatever. It's not going to become a problem for you, but it might be the opposite for someone else, where maybe weed becomes a problem for them. It shouldn't, but maybe something else, maybe mushrooms or something different, and then Adderall is actually really beneficial to them. I don't know. It should be your choice, I guess. That's what I think.
No, I agree. Yeah, is that if you're gonna take the drug, it's your choice. You shouldn't let other people convince you to do it. You shouldn't let someone lace you with drugs, because that shit has even happened to me before, and that's not even fun. Because like people would slip something harder into something that I thought was just weed or alcohol or whatever, and then I would just get more fucked up than I anticipated. And then that's what ruins the fun for me, is that it's like someone's just like, hey, I just slipped E into your drink, like, what do you think of it? I'm just like, I'm gonna hate it because you slipped it into my drink, you fucking asshole.
Like your friends trying to be fun, or like some
not
random asshole?
Not friends. It was just like people I met at a party, and
Yeah.
you know, it was just kind of like, hey, like I did this, and I was like, why the fuck would he tell me that? like, you just fucked over my night. Thank
Yeah.
you very much. Now
was
I'm gonna have
having-
to like try to find a way to get this ecstasy out of my body.
Yeah. Chug a bunch of water, maybe throw up. I don't know.
I think
I don't know if he could do that.
I couldn't stop it.
Yeah.
I tried throwing up, it didn't work, and I was just more or less like, I was bummed out that I was on ecstasy that night, which is probably not what you should be doing while you're on ecstasy.
Exactly. I was gonna say that's kind of a double negative.
Yeah,
When you didn't
exactly.
want it, and then once you are on it, it could be fun if you wanted it, but you didn't want it. So then
Yeah,
you're
like I've taken ecstasy before, like free, and you know, just like of my own choice, and you know, I tried it, didn't enjoy it, and I was like, cool, I'm not gonna do, probably
Yeah.
not gonna do this again.
Yeah.
And then like I think I was telling that guy that, and then like he was just like, all right,
Yeah.
let me fuck this guy over tonight, and I was just kind of like,
Dude's an
man,
asshole, huh?
fuck you, yeah. It sucked.
fuck that guy.
Yeah, fuck
whoever
that.
you are.
Yeah, if you're watching, if you're the guy who slipped E into my drink, fuck you.
Fuck you, dude.
I mean, like, I'm thankful that I was able to just even get out of that whole thing.
Yeah.
You know, it was like, there has been, you know, shit, like, I've know plenty of my friends have been laced before as well, and, like, you know, have either OD'd because of it or, you know, whatever
that's
else.
fucked up.
Yeah, and, like, you know, I remember I want to say my freshman year of Cal Arts, everyone was like, you know, that was the whole, like, big druggy year. That was when, like, you know, people were first leaving the nest for the first time. You know, they were like, you know, getting introduced to more or less the whole lifestyle of a college kid. Like the lifestyle of a college kid being that, like, you know, it's like, you know, you're just hanging out with your friends, drinking, smoking, doing whatever else. And it's fun. And until someone brings in like the harder drugs. And I want to say there was this party where people took this Molly that was laced with PCP, I want to say. And some people knew that it was, some people didn't know. And, you know, I remember just seeing like 20 people just freaking out that night and, you know, having to calm down like 2 of them or so because they were like roaming my hallways 4 a.m, just like trying to break the exit signs or whatever. And I was just kind of like, you guys step into my room, let me calm you down. And then I learned that like, oh yeah, they took this Molly that was laced, and you know, now they're just not able to handle themselves, and I just had to like personally calm them down. But it was fucked because I knew, you know, it was obvious that the guy who sold the Molly to these people like knew that it was, you know, laced and all, and still gave it to them. And I don't know, I just look at situations like that, I just really think like, first of all, who are you benefiting? Because you're not like, you know, I get like, you know, there's certain drugs that you can cut that would make it cheaper, but like putting Molly with like PCP, as far as I know, those are 2 expensive drugs. Like that doesn't save any money for you. That just makes you get more fucked up, and also just ruins the potential first time Molly users to that experience, you know, like, and I'm sure there was plenty of those that night because it was their freshman year. So.
Yeah. Molly, I know about PCP. I don't want to. Never seen it. Never been around it to my knowledge. But yeah, I don't know.
As far as I know, PCP is the drug that they give the soldiers when they're about to die. Like, you know, when they're shot, when they're like shot
adrenaline?
up. Yeah, to give them adrenaline and
Really?
like wake up and then just like be able to do what they need to do.
Jeez.
And then and so like,
Jesus Christ.
you know, the way I'm seeing it is like, okay, I'm not going to take this drug unless I'm about to die.
Exactly.
Like, and I absolutely need that adrenaline rush to get myself to safety or whatever. Like, yeah, I don't see myself using PCP in any other context besides that. And it's like, you know, it's like,
And even if you're in that situation, you're probably not going to have it on hand.
yeah, exactly. It's
Like,
like, you
oh,
know,
I
it's
just
not
got
like
my
it's not like I'm gonna have
Handy
like,
dandy
you know,
PCP in my pocket.
Yeah, it's not like I'm gonna have the shot of PCP just ready up to go like for when that situation happens.
Who's got it? You got it?
So I'm gonna be like,
I told you to bring it.
I'm gonna be shot up at a party and be like, hey, who has PCP? I know someone's holding.
I just might die tonight. I just want you to be ready. Just keep an eye on me.
Yeah, but
No, that's
that was a, and so like after, you know, I always say like, you know, if you're gonna take a drug, do research on it. And I remember I didn't have an interest in taking that drug, but I heard a lot of my friends were taking it, so they were more or less along the lines of like, oh, let's let's look this up and see what it's like. And they looked it up, read that, and they were like, fuck that, no, we're not taking this drug.
That's kind of the base rule for fucking anything. I'd say any sort of drug or substance, whether it's legal or not, pharmaceutical or supplement. Like, 'cause I've had other people on here talking about steroids and just supplements in general, and drugs that obviously, like, supplements and drugs are different but similar. They're going into your body. Like, do your own fucking research. It's going to affect everyone a little different. Just because someone says it's whatever doesn't mean that's true. Like, look this shit up. It's so simple to Google anything, read a couple articles, maybe watch a video or something. There's pretty much videos and articles on literally fucking everything.
Exactly. You have Google for a reason. Yeah. Whoever's watching this, and utilize that fact. You know, you don't have to just be looking up cat videos all the time. But yeah, it's funny that you bring up steroids, because I remember another sort of situation I had was I lost hearing in my right ear for a little bit. Because this is partially why I'm like, nowadays I'm like, okay, I should actually like be attentive towards my how I wear like earplugs and all that. It's like
same when you're playing.
Going to see people play live or whatever else. Like, generally, if I see, like, you know, a full stack and, you know, an 8x10 amp or whatever, and it's like a full sound system, that's when I wear earplugs. But, like, you know, if it's an outdoor show with just like 2 PA stands and, like, you know, small little combo amps, I'm not gonna front on that. But it's you know, like, I want to say, like, I want to say The Sound of Metal, that movie about that metal drummer.
I love that movie.
That's what truly just made me go like, oh, I should probably just start wearing this everywhere. Like, even like when I'm just like around some form of like sound that is loud in my ears for whatever reason. And when did that happen? I want to say when I was either 17 or 18. That's when I lost part of my hearing.
So young too.
Yeah. And so to gain that hearing back, I was put on steroids and some antibiotics for like 10 days, I want to say. And so the steroids that's what really got, and I had to, like, you know, this was told to me by a doctor, like, oh no, you'll be fine and all this. And the steroid dosages that I had to take was just really strange, because I had to start with like 6, or it was like some high number where I had to start with 6, then go to 5, then 4, then 3, 2, 1, or
of pills.
But but it was like over a 10-day period, so I had to start with 10, and then go to 9, and then 8. And it was a really strange occurrence where, like, you know, when I first started that, I was just amped up all the time and had like, I don't know how to energy of which I didn't think I had, but it really sucked, because I took my first dosage of this at like, you know, 11 p.m. right before I was about to go to bed, not even realizing like, oh yeah, you know, it's like
jack you up.
Yeah, this is gonna jack me up. And I just stayed up that entire night.
Did you work out?
I worked out, worked on some music, watched like George Lopez, because I was on at 3 a.m.
Yeah.
And like it was a fun night, but it was something where I was like, wait, I have school. Like, you know, I was still in high school, so I was like, wait, I have school the next day, and I'm supposed to be up at like 6:45 for this. And so I remember like just like at 6:45 I was still up, so I just took a shower, and then like I think after the shower, that's when I started feeling tired, and I was like, oh no. Shit. And I just pretty much was like having the onset of like, oh wait, this is wearing off now. So I told my parents the situation. I was like, hey, I took this stupidly. I took the steroids before I went to bed. Is it cool if I just like skip like the first half of school so I can just like get a couple hours of sleep? And they were like, just take the full day off. Like, it sounds like you had a weird night. And I was like, yeah, I truly did. And then I actually looked into the steroids that I was taking, and I looked into all the benefits and, you know, cons and all that. And I was like, okay, yeah. So lesson learned: take this first thing in the morning. And so I took my nap, and then didn't go to school. But pretty much after that nap, I took my the next dosage.
I was gonna say, when'd you take the 9? Because that had to be similar strength.
I took the 9 around like around noon or 1.
Yeah.
But like even then, it worked out to the point where, like, you know, because of that, I was I was amped up for that period of time, and then like was tired when I needed to be tired. So I got myself on a good schedule with the steroids when I needed to take them. But lesson learned: wear earplugs, so I don't have to go through that whole hectic steroid/antibiotic schedule to gain my hearing again.
And is it back 100%?
Yeah. I mean, I only lost like part of it, so it wasn't. But it was something where like for a good period of time, it was just going on my ear. Yeah, ringing. And it wasn't like constant. But it was frequent enough where like I was like, something is wrong. I should go to an ear doctor and get this checked out.
That's so funny.
Sure enough, it was exactly what I thought it was. It was I lost part of my hearing, and
from playing. They said from concerts.
From playing concerts and just working at these shows, and also just going to them. Pretty like, I want to say like around that time I was going to at least 2 shows a week, whether I was playing them, working, or just attending as a fan or whatever. Which is a fun time. I wish I can go back to it.
Bro, it's got to be coming.
Yeah, it's gonna come soon. It seems like LA is going on the pact of like concerts. Outdoor concerts will return for the summer, and then like I want to say like indoor will probably return around like fall, maybe. That's what it seems like it's going to be. I mean, no one's really announcing their plans officially. It's just more or less like when they're given the thumbs up, that's just when they do it, which is. I kind of like it that way, you know. I don't feel like there should be a grand opening for every venue or whatever. It's just kind of like open when you feel like it's right to open. You know, there are some places that are currently already open, and those are the people who probably won't be getting much business when everything was fully opened. But you know, they're getting the business that they need to get now, I guess, and whatever makes them happy, I guess. And
they got to survive.
Yeah.
I like outdoor shows too. I went to a couple outdoor comedy shows the other week.
Oh, nice.
I like just outdoors. I just like being outdoors. So like anything outside, I think is cool.
Yeah. What comedy places are doing outdoor shows?
It was in Pan Pacific Park.
Oh, nice.
Comedy. It was called Comedy Rhetoric. Comedy Rhetoric. Yeah, I think it was Comedy Rhetoric. I don't know if it's a tour or it's definitely like a moving show. The name Comedy Rhetoric. I think they go to Pan Pacific Park is where I saw them, and then I think it's Eagle Rock Park.
Oh yeah, Eagle Rock. Yeah.
I think they just go back and forth between the two. I don't know. I was at Pan Pacific Park one day and just saw them doing stand up in this little. It's an amphitheater, but it's really small. But it's a little cemented area, and then a couple layers of just like retaining walls, basically of cement, and then grass.
Yeah, that's been the current state of like live entertainment lately, which is I really do like it because it's sort of brings it back to the rudimentary form of just like, you know, you're not doing this for money, you're not doing this for like, you know, if anything, you're probably be losing money just doing those kind of shows because you're gonna have to like, you know, find if you don't already own a generator, you're gonna have to find someone to rent a generator from. If you don't already own a PA system, you're gonna have to find someone to rent a PA system from, and then like, you know, it's all this different yada yada that goes on into show planning. But you know, there's no way of profiting off of this. This is just the most pure way that you can make music, I would say, and not even music, you know, any sort of art in general. And it's like, you know, I just can't wait for the day where artists can get paid again. And you know, it's like I feel like that's when things will be happening mostly. You know, like all the bands that you want, or all the performers that you wanted to see before COVID will now be performing again because there's actually money incentive and all that. And but I will say I truly do appreciate all the artists who are just currently just doing their thing out there right now. It's you know, you're not letting anyone tell you otherwise. You are doing what you need to do. Like, just do it, continue doing it, and someone will notice.
What a message that is. And I back that message.
Yeah.
I love live shit. I love live bands. I love going to stand up. Even plays. I haven't seen that many plays as I probably should have. Someone who's pursuing acting, but the few plays I have gone to see, they're always, I don't know. I just like live performances in general.
Yeah. No, I mean, like it's the most like I would say it's the most pure form of entertainment because something can just go completely wrong that night, and when it does, it's not like, you know, it's not like everyone's gonna leave when that happens. Everyone will be, you know, it's not
right
like there. Oh, show's over, let's just go home, you know, because because a PA system blew out or like, you know, just whatever else. It's like, no, like these people, like I feel like the ones who are currently performing live now and the ones who were performing live before COVID as well, like these people that I was seeing and also the same people that you were seeing, like, you know, they're more or less like on the same page of just whatever happens, the show will continue on, and I fucking love that. Like, I went to go. So there's this band Wacko, and there was this show that they played in a print shop that I was about to go to, and that was quickly shut down by cops, as everything does in LA.
Recently?
This was before COVID. So this was around January of 2020, I want to say.
Why'd they shut them down then before COVID even?
Yeah, it's just generally like, you know, whenever there is a higher authority that complains about something that's going on, the cops will come and shut it down. Like this is a common occurrence for like a lot of like illegal shows that are thrown, and like especially that show that I was talking about on the 5 and 2 freeway. It was I there's definitely a lot of complaints about it because there was people like shooting up fireworks and whatnot.
Yeah.
But you know, the general hooligan behavior is looked down upon by most, but I don't want to say most, but like a good amount of people in LA, and those are the people who have the connection or are the ones that are in like control of like, you know, calling the cops. Cops show up, they shut it down.
The wealthier people,
yeah,
typically.
Generally the wealthier people that do this, and it's. I don't want to like be like, oh, like all rich people are bad, because you know it's you know I'm sure there are good couples out there, but you know it's like I will say though, you know, if you're bothered by, you know, loud music or, you know, just whatever else, it's not going to be like that every night. If anything, like these people are just there to do it, and then when they're done, they're done. It's not going to be like the new thing that's going to be happening in your neighborhood 24 hours a day. If that was, yes, go ahead, call the cops. I don't like, you know, at that point, then it's a fucking hassle to deal with, where like you probably yourself don't want to go up there and be like, hey, look, you know, I have an issue with you playing loud music 24 hours out of the day. And that neighbor will most likely be insane and be like, fuck you, and just close the door on you and shit. But like, you know, whenever shit like this happens, at most it's like done within 3 to 4 hours. You know, the loud music is done in like 15 to 30 minute increments with like, you know, soft music playing in between, and it's a fun vibe. I don't get why people need to feel the need to intrude on it.
They're just cranky.
Yeah, they're just cranky for whatever. They got to stick up their ass for whatever reason. But it's, you know, I don't see the necessity of calling a cop on a show like that, because, you know, you can either just go over there as a neighbor, or, you know, however you want to go over there and just be like, hey, you know, these are my complaints. Can you guys cooperate with them?
Is there a bunch of people though? Like, would they be intimidated?
I mean, if they are intimidated, that's just their own personal issue, I guess, because it's like, you know, I personally, you know, I've done shows like this where, like, you know, I would have some old lady or man come up to me and be like, the music's too loud, or, you know, there's too many kids here or whatever, and I would just tell them like, hey, look, you know, there's like 2 more bands playing. The show's gonna be over in an hour. Yeah. Will you survive? Because generally, like, you know, these people come up to me and they're like, my life is ruined because you're doing this, and I'm like, okay, so we're gonna be doing this for another 2 hours. Will you be able to survive, or like, do I need to call an ambulance for you or whatever? And you know, it's like I don't want to be an asshole about it, but yeah, these people, if they're gonna ruin a bunch of people's nights because, you know, it's like they don't want these kids to have fun in the way that they want to have fun, then it's like they should just fuck off, because it's, you know, it's like you don't see these kids like judging you for, like, you know, living in your big ass mansion and fucking, you know, like snorting coke in the bathroom probably, you know, like, you know, it's like, no, we keep to ourselves. We're, you know, we like to be rowdy, like, you know, 4 or 5 hours out of the day. Like,
yeah, what's your problem?
Just like yourself probably. And it's like, you know, just because we don't do it in the refined entertainment that you're doing it in your, you know, house, and, you know, it's like not too loud or whatever, but it's like, whenever these things happen, they're not continuous. That's what people need to realize. Honestly,
I don't know where to picture this is happening. Like I'm picturing
it happens everywhere. That's truly the thing. Is that
a concert in like a neighborhood though, or like
or like house shows and like outdoor generator shows and stuff like that.
Say
like,
in the backyard somewhere.
Yeah. Like generally when a backyard show happens or like something like that, like they're done. It's not supposed to be a continuous basis.
Mm-hmm.
If they are going to be in a continuous basis, there's probably going to be some form of way to get the sound to be retained.
Yeah.
Like the show will be moved indoors or whatever so that you can like soundproof the place. And I think people just need to realize that it's like whenever there's some loud party or concert going on in someone's backyard, it's most likely a one-time thing. It's like it's just like a party, just like anything else. It's like, except in this case, it's just bands playing because
awesome fucking music.
Yeah. It's and in this case, you got bands playing, and what are you gonna complain about? Just the loud music, probably, and that's it. If it was some other like high school party where there weren't bands playing, these same people wouldn't be fronting on it, which is really stupid to me. Because like those kids who are throwing a party don't know anything about like live sound or anything like that. They'll have some like smallest Bluetooth speaker for like an outdoor party with like 200 people in their backyard, thinking like, oh yeah, this is lit. Like, no, you need something. Yeah, you need something bigger, and you need something to piss off the neighborhood. Yeah.
Let's get into it, man. The Chonks.
Oh yeah. That band.
We do some stuff with them, right?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I do a couple things with those cats here and there. Yeah.
So, you obviously play for them.
Mm-hmm.
You're involved in the band as much as anyone is.
Yeah.
How did that happen? How did that start? And maybe even just for yourself, how did you get into music? I know you mentioned it a little bit at the beginning, but kind of give a full run through maybe of how that happened for you in your life, because that's really obviously where you're at, what you're doing.
So yeah, I guess with music, how I got into music was I was 5 years old. My mom showed me George Harrison and Jimi Hendrix, both of which became huge influences on my life. And then
Thanks, Mom.
That's what Mom. Yeah, thank you, Mom, for showing me those two artists. And that's what got me into just wanting to play guitar. And so learning guitar, that got me into the whole downfall of just learning about music and everything else in music. Like I also play bass, cello, drums, and synthesizer. I'm still not done with learning music fully, but how the Chonks started was me and my friend Liam, we played in like various bands together before the Chonks, and we were like, let's do something where we don't have anyone telling us what to do. We just, we'll create music, and whatever it comes out to be, that's what it ends up being. And the Chonks first started with me, him, and this drummer, Ben, of whom we more or less like separated ourselves from for reasons I won't explain. But it's but that was the original first Chonks lineup. And then we added our friend Duncan, of whom I've been friends with since I was 5 years old, to the band. And that became like the first initial lineup. We played a couple shows. Then things happened where, like, I want to say in high school, where Ben left the band, but then lost contact with him as well because he was sent off to wilderness school or whatever, the fancy rehab that people get sent to in Utah. I forget the name of it, but it's and then
it's like a boarding school type thing too.
Yeah, it's like a wilderness school for like bad kids who just
set them straight
more or less. And it's and so I also had the same sort of situation happen to me where I was sent to Israel for a boarding school when I was 17. Yeah. And so this happened like right around the time that I thought the band was just getting started, and I was kind of pissed off about that. And and so it was like, I got sent there for like 2 months or so, and then came back, and then that's when things, I guess, really took off for the band, because like it was something where like it was almost like a situation where when we came back, or when I came back from Israel, it was like a situation where I had people like waiting to see the band. because I didn't really tell anyone that I was leaving for Israel. I just kept it to myself because I guess a lot of people knew that I got in trouble in high school, and that I was being more quiet for a certain reason, and then just one day I disappeared. So then it was something where the people that asked it was like, hey, where are you? I was like, Israel. They're just like, wait,
what?
Yeah. They're like, wait, you're not fucking with us. And I was like, no, I'm in Israel. And they're like, what are you doing there? And I was like, I don't know, like I'm just here and trying to figure it out, I guess. And so
yeah, dude, just decided to go.
Yeah, it clearly was my choice to go, and so it was like,
why Israel though? Like of all the places.
It's because I'm Jewish, so my
that's
my mom wanted me to have the background of where my people were from and all
that makes so much more sense.
Yeah, and so it wasn't just like, oh yeah,
how far can we get him?
How far away can we get him? And it's just Israel was the cheapest option. No, it was something where one thing led to another, and they were just sort of like, well, we were already planning for this, but you sort of just forced us to make the decision anyway. And so I was just kind of like, well, yeah, I guess so. And then I came back, and that was, then we just more or less started playing as much shows as we could, and that kept on going for a little bit. And then we sort of had the typical band sort of situation where we couldn't really just find ourselves with a solid drummer who wanted to stick and stay with the band, because whenever we would want to do something bigger, that drummer would want to leave because they weren't comfortable with touring or what any other sort of shenanigans that we would want to do as a band together.
Is that a common problem?
Not anymore, thankfully. But it was a common problem just the first couple years starting off as the band. But I feel like now we sort of landed ourselves with someone who's really solid as a person and just as a musician, drummer in general. Yeah.
But is it a stereotype or actually a music industry wide common problem where it's hard to find drummers that stick with your band?
It's a stereotype.
While you're figuring it out.
It's a stereotype, definitely. But at the same time, it's there are drummers that I'm just more or less you're enforcing this stereotype that I don't know what to say. It's not I'm going to be oh, you're a typical drummer, because I don't want to think that there is the quote unquote typical drummer. Yeah. But it's in my head I'm damn, you are literally playing out an 80s hair metal drummer. And it's I remember one of our drummers, it was the situation was I don't get into details or anything, but it was more or less he left the band because of his girlfriend. And and it's I don't want to get into the whole spiel of it, but it was just more or less
that's the reason.
Okay, I guess this is going on. And so that was something for me where I was just kind of well, it's not even just the typical the drummer had a better opportunity come towards him or whatever. No. It was just straight up no, I want to do what's happy for me. And it's I respect that. Mm-hmm. I'm not gonna tell them oh, don't be together, because then it means that you're not drumming in the band anymore.
I mean, that guy's got to make that choice.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But it's something where it's we see that his values are towards that rather than wanting to be successful as a musician. And,
of course.
And it's good riddance, I guess.
Yeah, you don't want that, but once that's the thing, once you see that, I guess, then you want someone there who's committed.
Well, it's just more awkward now because it's now
you still see this person?
I'll still see this person, or I'll also have the situation where I want to say I'll see him and his girlfriend, and it's I don't think they know that I know.
She doesn't know,
or she doesn't know that I know. And it's he probably has more of an idea that I get it.
Oh, so he didn't tell you that? You just kind of heard that? He didn't say, "Hey guys,
No, it wasn't a situation. He gave us a totally different reason, but we put it together one by one.
Yeah.
And it was something where I want to say around the time that I came back from living in Sequoias for a little bit, the band took a break around then, and I got back. And just out of curiosity, I was just more or less I want to see if this guy would just even be down to jam or whatever. And so I was just kind of hey, what's up? You want to jam soon? Just constant oh yeah, I'm down. And then met with the constant refusal of oh, I actually can't, right now, XYZ, blah blah blah. And I was accepting of it. I was just more or less like, yeah, that's fine. It's all good. And then like, I don't want to be like, oh, his excuses weren't true, but it was something where like, the excuses just became a little too bland for me to even be like, oh, this is made up. It's clearly made up. It was, it's like, okay, well, you obviously have in your head that you will act nice in front of us, but you're not gonna be like playing with us even just as a
for
friend.
Fun.
Yeah, and it's like I'm just more or less like that was an even more big fuck you compared to just like leaving the band because of the girl or whatever. And it was,
Does she not like you guys?
No, I think she likes us. I just as far as I know, like she's always been a pleasant person. I've never had any sort of
maybe.
I've never had any bad interactions with either of these people. I feel like I'm talking shit, but I both genuinely love them. It's something where like me as a musician, I'm like, I want to play with these people again, and it's like
Well, it makes you wonder like why he wouldn't even come just for fun.
I don't know. It's probably just
like does he still play like period with other people?
Still plays, yeah.
Just not you guys.
Yeah, just not with us, and so
from the outside that seems like someone doesn't like you guys.
yeah. And so from the outside it seems like that, but it's like in my head it might just be me in my head just being like, oh no, it's like I'm still good with them, just not in the music terms, I guess.
For sure.
But even then it's like I'd rather not hear the spiel of like
the BS
of whatever excuses they have to come up with, because I know that they already came up with those excuses in their head just to make me feel better. You're not making me feel better, you're making me feel worse.
That has to be just, sounds just like a breakup, like losing a serious or long-term bandmate.
Yeah.
And then see him around, it's got to be a similar interaction.
Thankfully he wasn't like long-term or anything, but it was like something where I guess like we were trying to make him long-term, and I guess that's where we failed. And so it was like it came around the situation where like he filled in on a tour for us, and then we were like all good, and like we thought we were chilling, and then our current drummer left the band, and so we were like, hey, do you want to fill in on these dates for like these gigs that we're playing? Told us yes on a couple, told us no on a couple, and we're like, all right, that's cool, and we worked it out so that we were able to do those dates. And then like came around the time where like we were like, hey, we're planning a tour, we want you to be involved, and then he was like, no. So we took light of that. We were just kind of like, okay, that's at least he told us that he couldn't be a part of the tour. And so then we were just kind of like, okay, let's just work out so we have another fill-in for this tour, and we'll just practice with him and have him play all the warm-up shows and all that yada yada and all that. And so we were we were aiming for that, and then COVID happened, and so
COVID.
Yeah, exactly. And so it wasn't anything where like we were it wasn't like hard feelings were crushed or anything. It was just more or less along the situation where I was just kind of like, well, I'm bummed that I can't be seen as the musician that I once was when I was playing with you because of some form of boundary that I may or may not have broken, or some boundary that possibly they created in their head. I have no clue at this point.
That's just relationships.
Exactly.
Probably not even part of it. So.
I'm around that shit most of the time, because like my roommate has a girlfriend as well, and so it's like I see it, and it's not like I intrude on it. It's I understand and I respect the fact that like it's like, hey, these people need their privacy, happiness, and all that. I'm not gonna be fronting on someone that's in a relationship with someone and be like, hey, you shouldn't be in this relationship, unless I truly saw that they were unhappy or they were being abused of some sort, or just some fuck shit like that. But it's like, if it's some personal shit where it's like, oh, this person's spending less time with me because they have a girlfriend or boyfriend or partner or whatever, I'm not gonna be salty about it. Like, I understand and respect the fact that people need companionship,
Exactly.
Like,
that's kind of like that's some child shit.
Yeah, exactly. But I think that when you let the companionship get in the way of opportunities, that's when in my head I'm like, oh no, like,
oh no, exactly. That's where I was kind of saying, it's up to that guy, is he gonna let someone stand in the way of what he wanted and make? He might have changed his mind, of course. There's always an option, but if it seems sudden maybe, or just this new person comes into this person in your friend's life, and then all of a sudden their things change, then it's like, I don't know, do you want this, or that person want this, and kind of making you do that? But
yeah, exactly. Like it was sudden, I guess, in the sense that like we didn't expect it to happen, but at the same time, I guess like people that were like more close with them were like, oh no, that was gonna happen all along. So it was just something where I was just more or less like, okay, sorry for being the idiot in this situation. Like,
I guess I just didn't know.
Sorry for not knowing as much as you did.
That's funny. Another thing, when we first met, I remember you talking about growing up around Tyler, the Creator.
Oh yeah.
And it was kind of a drunk conversation, so I don't remember a whole bunch about it, but that I guess just that you were friends with him at the beginning of like his career and Odd Future before they were even making music, right? And they were just doing like those skate videos.
I wouldn't say like friends. I was just more like acquaintances, I guess. You know.
Did you go to the same high school? You said, right?
No, it wasn't. No? So my sister went to the same high school as Earl Sweatshirts.
That's
and then
what it was.
some of my friends also went to that same high school, so that's sort of what started it. And so that, you know, it was like, who's this guy Earl Sweatshirt, and you know that led into like, you know.
But were they even making music then yet, or were they still just doing this videos?
They were making music as far as I knew. Like Tyler and Frank were the two big ones in my head. Yeah. And then it was like, you know, I guess that's still the situation. Yeah. But you know, I guess like the people that I was like more or less like the people who knew me were like the Odd Future like entourage, the people that no one knows now. You know, but now everyone knows Tyler, everyone knows Earl, and it's like they didn't really, you know, but it's like now that they know them, they didn't really know about the shit that they did before. And so the stuff that they were doing beforehand, you know, they were just hanging out on Fairfax all the time, you know, besides, you know, making music and all that other stuff. So, and I was also like hanging around on Fairfax around that time, so I would often run into them, and you know, one thing led to another, and it was like something where I was just hanging out with these people because I had mutual friends that knew them, and it was like, you know, they more or less were among the situation where like, you know, they thought I was cool, and some of them knew my name, some of them didn't. Yeah, Tyler, as far as I knew, like he was cool, like, you know, he recognized my face for when I was younger and all that, and you know, I though, you know, looking back at it, I'm sure it's probably like, you know, the same story of like that annoying 13, 14-year-old kid that comes up to you and is like, you know, I loved your music, and it's like, you know, are
you younger than them?
I was way younger than him. So
how old is he? I don't know how old Tyler is.
I think Tyler's like 27.
27.
He was born in 1991. So, oh no, he might be almost 1994. Sorry. Yeah, so he's like 27, 28. Yeah, something like that. And that was like, you know, I want to say Tyler was probably the one guy I looked up to because he was making music unlike anyone else around that time. Like, he was vulgar, disgraceful, and ignorant as fuck, but purely for the purpose of his art. Yeah. And
really close in your area.
Obviously. Yeah, really close in my area as well. So it was like, you know, I just remember like every weekend I would have my dad drop me off there or something like that, and like I would just walk around with my friends and shit.
And Fairfax, that's like a city, right?
No, it's just a street area, like Fairfax, Melrose. Okay. Like it's like more like it's kind of close to like Hollywood area. But it's like Fairfax, Melrose, La Brea, like those, like that whole like block center of like streetwear stores and all that. That's
where I like Melrose a lot.
Yeah. Melrose. I grew to appreciate Melrose more as I got older because like I want to say like around that age I was like hanging around like the streetwear spots a lot and all that, and you know, like that was cool to me for that age. And then like when I got older, I was like, wait, $30 for a t-shirt, that's fucking stupid. Like, and so then I was just, you know, looking at all these like, you know, boutique or like thrift stores and shit like that would like, you know, I can possibly find like a cool like, you know, $10 undershirt or whatever. And it was just kind of like, for me, it made I found myself just wanting to like separate or just like leave that whole world in general as well. So it was kind of hard because like a lot of my friends were like still in it, and you know, I would still want to hang out with them and like be around it and all. But like it got to a point where like I want to say after 2015 or so when Tyler, what album did Tyler release? It was Wolf. Tyler went on a huge tour for that, and like I didn't really see any of the Odd Future guys for a while, so it was and that's I think that's probably when right around the time that they like blew up more in the whole mainstream. But that's when the kids who were more or less like fuck Tyler because of like, you know, XYZ were like, oh, I actually like Tyler because of this song or whatever else. And
the kids in the area were hating on him?
Not kids in my area. It was like I don't know how to like. It was the kids. I don't want to sound like an asshole here, but it was the kids who didn't really know shit about music.
Yeah.
It was the kids who were, you know, liking the top 40s radio and all that stuff, and then like, you know, may or may not have heard of Tyler because of Frank Ocean or whatever else.
Yeah.
And it was like and then they got into Tyler because of Frank Ocean, and Frank Ocean is someone who I truly respect because I want to say Frank Ocean is like the guy who I looked up to before he released his own music, because Frank Ocean was doing a lot of this like producing and ghostwriting for bigger name artists, and that's something that I've always been interested in doing myself, because I never really like wanted to be like super famous, but just somewhere like where I've been like I will be respected for the work I did, but also just not put on the pedestal all the time, I guess. And
known within the artist.
Yeah.
It's like, this guy's really good at what he does.
Yeah.
He's respected as an artist, I guess, among other successful artists.
Yeah. And so that's how it was for a good while. And then like Frank Ocean released his own music, and that's when he blew up as an artist himself, because people didn't realize that like, oh wait, this was the same guy who wrote all the top 40s radio songs that you were liking back in 2010.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, he wrote those songs. He wrote all of them. Or I don't want to say all of them, but he wrote most of them.
Yeah.
And so it was, you know, me knowing that knowledge was cooler to me than like, you know, people liking his music.
Mm-hmm.
And then like he released his own music. I thought it was good, but I know his whole thing was, you know, it's like, you know, ghostwriter before, and then started releasing his own music. And whenever he does release his own music, he doesn't do it like the way normal artists do it. And it's like, I think people need to learn to respect that and shut up about it. Like, I think truly that, you know, it's like, if you are going to talk about Frank Ocean, you need to realize how his artistry works, and that you shouldn't be confused on the way he does stuff, because he does stuff for a certain reason. Why do you think you like it so much? It's like, you know.
Are you saying him, because he does seem to not, I don't know if you say put himself out there. Like, he could be more of a name guy than he even is.
He could be way bigger.
Exactly. Yeah, in a way. But at the same time, he's obviously huge. Everyone knows who Frank Ocean is. But yeah, he could be like seen more, putting his face on things more in public more,
exactly.
Maybe on shows more, just marketing himself more as his own self-brand. And are you speaking to people who get like annoyed or hate on him maybe because
I don't even mean like the people who hate or like, you know, because I know people that don't like his. I mean, personally, I'm not a huge fan of his music. I think that there are certain songs that I like, there are certain songs that I don't like, but there's nothing truly that just makes me go, wow, this is like groundbreaking as an artist, because I've seen the groundbreaking stuff that he's done, and that's just what he did behind the scenes. And to me, that was like, you know, when I hear people talk about his music and how great he is, and just like, you know, how he doesn't like go out or like whatever else, I'm just sort of like, you just need to you just need to shut up and respect it, because it's something where he is not going to step out of the limelight just for you.
Yeah.
He will do it when he wants to do it. And it's, you know, people just need to understand that. I feel like, you know, people just try to make celebrities their friends or whatever, because, or like, you know, without even knowing them personally. Mm-hmm. And I don't even know Frank Ocean personally, and that's why I'm like, you know, I look up to him, but I, you know, personally, have I had that many interactions with him as a person-to-person interaction? No. Mm-hmm. It's something where I can't go off of the basis of like being like, oh yeah, Frank Ocean is a really good person or a really good guy or whatever. It's just, I know Frank Ocean, and I know what he does.
Yeah, like, you respect his work.
But there is a good Frank Ocean story that I heard the other day, if you want to hear it real quick.
Of course.
So, I believe this was back in 2012. So I'm gonna tell the story real quick, and then we'll wrap up probably. But
you gotta go here.
yeah, I gotta head out in a little bit. But
Yeah.
it was 2012 or 2010. Odd Future was doing this tour. They were in Austin, Texas, and this was like at one of their after shows. It was so this was back in the day when they were like not just trying to do hip hop shit or like whatever else. Like they were like fully involved in the whole scene. Like they were friends with this band called Trash Talk, which was like this hardcore hardcore band from LA, and they were also Trash Talk is also really good. They I don't know if you heard of like Babylon or anything like that, but it's like this skate store in Hollywood area that they run. And but anyway, so if I remember correctly, for all their after shows, it was Trash Talk along with like two other bands. These shows would start around like 11 p.m. or so, and it was just like a quick like hardcore or like metal bands that would just go on. And I believe also playing that night was Power Trip, also from Dallas, Texas. Really good band, R.I.P. Riley Gale, and this band called Iron Age. And if I remember correctly, somehow word got around, like I guess Iron Age like wasn't playing that many shows around the time or whatever, and so it was like people were hyped on like the fact that Iron Age was playing this show because they didn't give a fuck about Odd Future or anything. It was just like a bunch of like local Austin people were like, oh shit, Iron Age is playing. And I guess word got spread around that like to the Odd Future crew that it was like Iron Age is possibly the best band to see in Texas right now. And if I remember the story correctly, Frank Ocean, who was not on this tour, got word of this whole thing, and I guess he was working on some secret project at the time. He takes the liberty of taking his client's private jet all the way to Austin, Texas, just to see this fucking band perform their set. And he was in the pit and everything like that, fully embracing the music. Yeah. And then right after set, he just got back on the plane and went back to LA. So if anyone is if anyone wants to take anything away from the story, it's the fact that like true musicians will support each other, or like true artists will just support each other no matter what. This fucker Frank Ocean took a private jet all the way to Austin, Texas from LA to go see one band. Like if that doesn't show dedication, I don't know what else would. Like, holy fucking... Like, I wouldn't even do that personally. Like, even if I had the money... no, if I had the money, I had the money.
I was going to say, not a lot of people got the opportunity.
Not that many people have that opportunity, but if you do have the opportunity, fucking take it. Because that is a legendary story to, like... I'm telling this story like it's my own story, even though it's not. Like, I know this story. I've known this story for, like, Lord knows how long. And I still think it's probably...
Your favorite.
My favorite out of all the Frank Ocean stories that I know, because this is also like Iron Age is unlike any other kind of music that like Frank Ocean has made. Like Iron Age is just strictly energy hardcore type of shit.
I'll have to look them up. I haven't heard of them.
Yeah, they're really fucking good. But and also just check out Power Trip and Trash Talk as well. Those are great bands.
For sure.
I guess like somehow word got spread around, and that word got to Frank Ocean, and Tyler was doing that for a little bit with like a lot of my friends' bands, funny enough. And so Tyler was like going to see my friends play at like the Smell and shit like that, and or like whatever other all ages venues. And I guess like I missed out on that part as well. So it's like I never was seen by Tyler performing or whatever, and so it's not personally anything I'm bummed out about or anything, but it's cool to see that like Tyler, as much as I may or may not have talked shit on him, it's like he does. Tyler is also a true artist. He supports other artists and doesn't let anyone tell him otherwise. Would I have ever fucking expected to see Tyler the Creator at like an all ages venue and like some warehouse in downtown LA? Fuck no. But sure enough, there he was, just watching my friends play it, and dipped right afterwards. And then I was like, well, I guess this is how I'm gonna be seeing him from now on.
I mean, it just proves they love music, man. They're out there just to enjoy it like anyone else.
Yeah, exactly.
Well,
anyway, thank you for having me on.
Thanks for coming on, man. I appreciate it so much.
No, this was a lot of fun. Honestly, I haven't done like a just sit down talk podcast, and Lord knows how long.
Yeah, well, shit, you'll have to come back.
Oh yeah, definitely. I'd love to. Let me bring the band down this time.
I'm down, dude. I got the setup for it. I haven't done a group like that, but how many? 3 of you, right?
There's 4 of us. Yeah.
4 of you? Okay,
Yeah.
I can get some more shit. I got the capabilities of it. I have to get one more mic, but we'll do it.
Awesome. Yeah.
I'd love to have you guys
to make
on.
that happen.
All right, man. Thank you so much. Have a great rest of your day.
Sign off.
See everybody.
Check the mic and make sure it sound right, boys.